The pandemic has disrupted thousands of lives. What are the common changes in eating patterns you've observed amongst couples?
Oh, okay. So, amongst couples, it is a big one because a lot of us are also staying, just there are just two people in the house and you're like looking at each other all the time. And with the pandemic, already our anxieties and our stresses are really hitting the roof. And sometimes when things get tough and there are conflicts and there are so many other things involved within the dynamics of a relationship, it can be very easy to reach out to food for comfort, right? At the end of the day, all we're looking for is comfort and warmth and love and intimacy. And when you don't get that intimacy from your relationship somewhere, you seek for it in food. It's the easiest, like opening the fridge and pulling out a packet of ice cream or a bag of chips is super simple, right? Like versus going through the entire pool of talking and understanding and doing all of those things. So it is almost like an immediate gratification, and that kind of builds up upon our eating behaviors.
For a lot of couples, like dining out or going to, like fancy restaurants on dates, or sometimes even ordering in and kind of just like relaxing at home and spending some like quality time with your partner was a huge like factor of romance in people's lives. Now a lot of these things aren't really options. So can you suggest some alternatives that couples could try to kind of keep the spark alive and like spend some quality time with each other?
One of them would be to, yes, cook a meal together. If you're too tired and you can't do that, then something like even a pre-cooked meal, but eat it more mindfully, eat it more consciously, eat it more with presence, maybe without distractions, so that you can actually connect with your meal and with yourselves, which will also reduce the chances of binge eating later on. Two would be cooking, of course. Three could be like doing any kind of activity together. It could simply be solving some Sudoku games and getting onto a challenge together, like downloading some of these fun apps, whatever it is that you're interested in, and then competing with each other, because that could be a fun thing to do at this point, right?
Question of the hour: how do you combat binge eating?
Look, binge eating is caused not because you don't have willpower to control your food. It's not that we decide that we're going to go on a diet and then we sort of control for a couple of days, and then your favorite food comes along. Maybe you decide to order in pizza because you're really tired, or you've had a really long day working from home, you've had screen fatigue, you're burnt out, you're frustrated, you're having conflicts at home, maybe with your loved ones or whatever that might be. But at that point, you feel that your willpower is at a low, right? And that's when you end up eating more than you decided that you were going to eat. Now, when this happens, we start blaming ourselves that I don't have any control, because we've been restricting, that your brain suddenly goes like, hey, I know I'm not going to get this food for a really, really long time again. So why I eat it right now? And let me not just eat it, let me stock up on it. Let me overeat it, because I don't know when I'm getting this pizza again. I don't know when this human is going to allow me, like this is the body talking literally. I don't know when this human is going to allow me to engage with this food again. So when this human has now decided to permit these foods, let me gorge, let me binge. So one very, very important place to start is acknowledging that none of these foods are good or bad. We put foods into good categories and then bad categories. And these bad category foods are generally the ones we end up binging on. We never end up binging on salads or soup because we've already put them in the good category. So be aware of what your bad category foods are, and instead of trying to restrict them or throw them out of your life completely, start working on changing your relationship with them. start working on changing your relationship with food per se, so that you allow everything in moderation without losing control.
How can someone keep up their metabolism when currently, because of the pandemic, the workout options are limited? Like, people aren't able to access the gyms they used to frequent. A lot of the workout classes have had to shut down. So are there any tips that you may have how someone can kind of keep up their metabolism and not have it like badly affect their physical well-being?
With metabolism, yes, we believe that only when I work out X amount of hours or X amount of time per week is my metabolism going to be high. Only when I eat certain foods is my metabolism going to be high. But well, reality check, guys. You work out maximum 1 hour a day, right? That means for the rest of the 23 hours, you are not really working out. But that does not mean your metabolism is at hold. Your metabolism is still in play even for those remaining 23 hours, okay? And there is a way where you can, start relaxing also and burning calories. This is psychobiology, right? So what happens is when you have a negative thought could mean something like, oh my God, I am such a failure. I didn't even work out the entire week. Oh my God, there's something super wrong with me. There's something super wrong with my body. I should be doing this. I shouldn't be doing that. These toxic thoughts that are constantly consuming you, they will tend to start interfering. So, okay, here's the thing, right? They put you more in a stress response, which is known as the sympathetic nervous system dominance in your body. This, you don't need to remember the word, the terms and everything, but what this means is a branch of your nervous system goes into stress. Whenever we are into stress, our body uses all its energy to fight or to run away from danger. Okay, that means when your body is supplying more energy to parts of you that need to run or need to like survive from the threat per se, there is lesser energy going into digestion. Simple, like you are going to digest optimally when you are in the other branch of the nervous system, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. So having toxic thoughts, having constantly being under stress will affect your metabolism. So right now, I understand we don't have the options of working out, going outdoors, and there's also burnout and there's also a lot of fatigue. I get it. But even if you're able to do a 15 to 20 minute workout maximum a day, that is also enough, because you're still not going to beat yourself up, which means that you still have those 23 hours to spend in your rest and digest mode versus spending those 23 extra hours in the stress survival state and sort of not fully activating your digestive system and your metabolic capacity.
Are there any foods or beverages that you would recommend that act as immunity boosters or mood boosters that couples can consume to keep their spirits high?
Coming to foods, I think including pre and probiotics right now is extremely essential, because as I said, your gut and your head, they are very much in sync. In fact, 95% of serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone, is produced in your gut. Right? It's not produced in your head brain, it is produced in your gut, and that is how interconnected our moods, our eating habits, and just our stress levels can be. So keeping your gut happy and healthy, it's not just about the food. Of course, include pre and probiotics like yogurt, kombucha, kefir, or even right now, if you don't have access to enough of this, just get a probiotic capsule and have that.
What are your thoughts on binging and burnout? Are they correlated? Do they impact one another?
So when your stress hormones are high,
okay,
it's going to flush out the good bacteria in your gut, and when that happens, you're going to let's say cortisol is like the sun. It's like this big sun, like a big bully, for example, versus melatonin, it's more like the night hormone. It's like the moon. It's very subtle, it's very light, it comes out very subtly. And when you are constantly feeling burnout throughout the day, that means the sun is like right out there and it's bullying the melatonin, it's bullying the moon in a way, and it's just flushing your system with stress the whole time. That's why you're going to feel burnt out, whether it's daytime or it's nighttime. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. Even if you're getting enough sleep, maybe you're not getting enough good quality sleep, because remember, melatonin levels are low. Melatonin is what helps you sleep deeper and better. Number one, of course, you can't fill from an empty cup, right? So first fill your teapot. First fill yourself individually. Both the partners do that, so that you both have good enough levels of feel good hormones within you to bring that feeling into the relationship. So keep your serotonin levels high. Getting enough sleep, not just enough sleep, but deep sleep. One really quick thing that you can do for that, I know that we're all just addicted to the TV right now, and we fall asleep watching Netflix, and yes, that is a way of bonding, but try as a way of bonding, and this might also help your relationship. For the last 20 minutes before you actually sleep, shut down your TV, shut down your phones, keep them away, because the blue light that your phone emits or your TV emits gives the signal to the brain that, hey, it's still daytime. That means the sun needs to shine. That means more cortisol needs to be produced. This human needs to be more and more alert. So let the moon not come. Let the melatonin not appear right now. So try shutting that so that your cortisol levels can fall and you can get deeper sleep. And at the same time, those last 20 minutes can be just pillow talk, or can be cuddling, or can be something interesting that you and your partner are doing. Like I said, probably play a game, like get a board game, play chess, solve a puzzle, do something fun together.